Welcome into the Commander's Report mailbag. I am your host, Jack Sperry. Today, I get to do my favorite segment that I get to do every single week here on the show, which is to answer your questions on the topics surrounding the Washington Commanders that you guys want answers to. So I really love having this back and forth two-way dialogue with the fan base here. So make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and join us for our live shows every single Wednesday evening. For your chance to get on the show and get your question on the show. We try to be the most interactive community for Commanders fans anywhere on YouTube. We go live for every single Commanders game, where, of course, we have the live chat room going and, super chat giveaways and all that stuff. So if you guys want to enjoy all the interactive live content that we provide for you guys for free here on the Commanders Report, click that subscribe button and help us get to 50,000 subscribers as soon as possible. So first question here coming in from William Hancock, and he says, question will the team make a deep playoff run without Terry? No, they can't do it. I think Deebo Samuel can be really good in the role that he plays in this offense, which is to be, somebody that's a versatile chess piece that's being used on motions and moving him all over the formation, using him in the backfield, using him on screens, weaponizing his ability to run block. I think that his role as a gadget-type wide receiver 2 is perfect for him. But without Terry McLaurin, who's taking that number 1 receiver spot? Noah Brown, he's dealing with an injury, can he even stay healthy? And then Luke McCaffrey, KJ Osborne, Chris Moore, these guys that have been struggling in camp to this point. Jalen Lane, maybe, but he's pretty small, more of a slot weapon type guy. I just don't know, guys, if without Terry McLaurin, this offense is going to be able to do the things that they need to do. I mean, just look at what happened to Tom Brady in the final year there with the New England Patriots. Didn't have any legitimate wide receiver talent to work with, and as a result, teams could just play straight man coverage against the Patriots wide receivers because no one could get open against their corners, and Tom Brady had nowhere to throw to, and as a result, his numbers look terrible. So even for a guy like Jaden Daniels, who is an incredible starting quarterback, I have him ranked top 5 in the NFL already heading into his second season. I think he's that good. Without a guy like Terry McLaurin to draw attention away from other guys and open opportunities up for lesser wide receiver talents, not to mention the production that Terry McLaurin gives you and the skill set he gives you as your deep threat, as your route runner type, what he does after the catch. Terry does it all, man. So if you take that away, it changes the way defenses can play the Commanders, and they can play a lot more aggressively. They can play a lot more man coverage, and that's going to make it a lot harder on Jaden Daniels in his second season. So unless they can trade Terry McLaurin for another number 1 type receiver, which at this point it probably won't happen, no, man, they got to have Terry McLaurin on the roster. Terry McLaurin knows this, which is why he's trying to get the contract that he wants and feels like he is deserving of. So, plain and simply, guys, Adam Peters needs to get this contract done. Then we got Michael coming in here with a question. Says, will Josh Connerly start at right tackle? Will they push Wiley or Allegretti to right guard? Right now, Allegretti has been getting the reps at right guard. Wiley's been getting the reps at starting right tackle. Connerly's been working with the second team as the right tackle. So it's going to come down to how Connerly does in these preseason games, how much growth he can make, and whether or not he's just straight up playing better than Allegretti, or than Wiley, I should say, heading into the year. And, I would hope that the first-round pick that was supposed to be relatively pro-ready should be ready to go week 1 because, frankly, Andrew Wiley's not very good. And you're going up against a really good pass rush week 1 versus the New York Giants. It might be the best pass rush in the National Football League with, of course, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, and then, of course, they're adding Carter this year, which is just insane. That trio has a chance to be absolutely lethal. And if Andrew Wiley is out there, that could be a weak link that they could exploit. Plus, to start the season, you don't have Sam Cosmi. So, hopefully Connerly's ready to go and ready to fortify that right tackle spot. But it's really going to come down to how he plays for the rest of the preseason and how he looks in practices. I don't think that they'll throw him out there if he's not ready. So let's hope that he gets there before week 1. All right, so let us know down there in the comments section, guys. How far could Washington go without Terry McLaurin this year? Honestly, I think they missed the playoffs without him. And, that's crazy because this team made the NFC Championship game last year. And, a lot of the aspects of this team are better than it was last season. But without Terry McLaurin, that wide receiver room, if they don't add anybody, is going to be completely run through by opposing secondaries in the National Football League. So I think you got to have Terry McLaurin. But let me know, how far do you think this team can go without Terry on the team? For me, it's not to the playoffs, maybe 7 wins, 8 wins without Terry McLaurin. I think he is that important to this football team. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section for today's pinned question. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds, and when that happens, take advantage of that time. But let me know how much of a difference this team is without Terry McLaurin on it this year. Then we get to Billy Everett Jr. Says, do you think Mike Sainristil will be the game saver in the secondary like he has been in training camp? Listen, man, I think that he's had a really good camp to this point. He's looking really good, and he was one of the best slot corners in college that I've seen in a long time coming out. And last year he had the play on the outside, which, he was fine at. He did a good job at it. He was definitely this team's best outside corner last year, but with guys like Michael Davis, Benjamin St. Juste, and Emmanuel Forbes, that's not really saying much, right? And especially because Marshawn Lattimore had a tough time staying on the field. But this year, Lattimore's back. Hopefully he can stay healthy. You bring in Trey Amos. You bring in Jonathan Jones, 2 more than capable players on the outside. So Sainristil can stay in the slot and do what he does best. I think that he's going to have a true breakout season this year, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to be able to do and be one of the truly impactful players in this defense. Because you look at the modern NFL, like these nickel type of players, Derwin James, Brian Branch, Kyle Hamilton, Jalen Ramsey, these guys that are kind of bigger players that play in the nickel and play in the slot. Sainristil's not that big, but he is a nickel. Like, he has a chance to be such an impactful guy and be kind of this team's quote-unquote Brian Branch type. And his instincts are just off the charts, and he's just a really good football player. And I think that by the end of the year, we might be talking about him as one of, if not the best defensive player on this Commanders team. Then we get to Malcolm Lloyd, who says, could we try and trade for another tight end like Kyle Pitts? I don't think that the Commanders would want to do that. I think they really like Zach Ertz. He had a really good season last year. He's got a great rapport with Jaden Daniels, and I think they still like the upside of Ben Sinnott, the guy they spent a really high draft pick on, a day 2 draft pick on out of Kansas State just last year. He can block. He's good after the catch. He runs good routes, and he's a really good athlete for his size. So I think they like Ben Sinnott, and they still want to kind of try to make him the future of the position because right now you got Zach Ertz, who is the number 1 tight end. You got John Bates, and excuse the asterisks there, guys. Those are a little bit outdated from our free agency coverage, but you guys get what it kind of is right here. Like, John Bates is the blocking tight end. Zach Ertz is your possession tight end right now, and honestly, the Commanders don't run really a ton of 2 tight end sets. They do it from occasion, but I'm not sure if they necessarily need a Kyle Pitts, who frankly has not been good for at least 2 seasons at this point. So really anything that the Commanders would send to get Kyle Pitts, I don't think it would be worth it for him. So before we get into the rest of the questions on today's mailbag, go ahead and check out our friends at Fanatics, where you guys can get a Washington Commanders hoodie 50% off today when you go chatsports.com/WAS hoodie. I really like the design of this hoodie, guys. You've got the patches on the sleeve there. You got the logo on the chest. I really like the burgundy color as well. So if you're looking for a lucky Washington Commanders game day sweatshirt this year, I think this is perfect for you because it's 50% off. It's stylish. It's definitely comfortable as well. So if you guys want to go chatsports.com/WAS hoodie, that link is down there in the comments and description of today's show if you guys want to check it out. Then we got one from Wally Goozer, who says, do you think Luke McCaffrey will finally get his first NFL touchdown in 2025? I hope he does. I really do, man. I was a little bit lower on Luke McCaffrey. I had, I believe, a late day 3 grade on him coming out of Rice. The Commanders, of course, take him in the 3rd round, which I thought was a bit rich. Last year, he didn't do anything for the team as a rookie. And the team has really been hoping that he's going to ascend as a legitimate receiver weapon. And, there's been certain moments where, he's looked good in training camp, but he's been mostly quiet playing with the first team. I'm really hoping that he can, show us a little bit more in these last remaining preseason practices that we have in these final few weeks before the season and in these last remaining preseason games. So we'll see what McCaffrey's role looks like, but I certainly hope he can get into the end zone. He certainly works hard enough to get some success in this Commanders offense. So I guess we'll see what Luke McCaffrey can bring to this team here in 2025. Then we got one from G. Tuck here. He says, Commanders report by Chat Sports. Why are we continuing to hear that Von Miller will be this role player when it seems he is ripping it up at camp? Why couldn't he be a starter? So he's going to get a lot of reps. Don't get twisted, G. Tuck. And he is listed as a starter on the Commanders depth chart right now as the Sam linebacker, all right? So I do expect to see a lot of Von Miller, but because he is older, you have to save some of the bullets in the chamber, all right? A little bit more than when he was a younger man, all right? This is what the Bills did last year, by the way, all right? He was not an every down starter for the Buffalo Bills last season, okay? What he was a rotational pass rusher that came in on second down and long, third down and medium, third down and long, pass-heavy situations so that he could come in and he could provide that pass rush help without having to expel all that energy, being the guy that's out there on early downs defending the run. So what they'll do is they'll put out a little bit more heavy bodies out there. They'll put Frankie Louvu in the Sam linebacker position on early downs at times, and they're going to, kind of have this nice rotation where you're saving the stamina of your players while also putting them in positions where they are most likely to succeed. And Von Miller, what he is really good at is he is one of the best pure pass rushers in the league still. Right? Last year he had a 16% pressure rate for the Buffalo Bills. That's a really good number, guys. Like, a good number is 10%. He was all the way up to 16%, and he got 6 sacks for that Bills team last season. So, just because he's not out there every single down isn't going to mean that he's not going to play a very important role for this defense last year. Dante Fowler was this team's designated pass rusher last year, and he wasn't on the field on every single play, but he still left the season with 10.5 sacks. I expect a similar amount of production from Von Miller in this really creative defensive scheme from Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. Then we got a $5 super chat from Malcolm Lloyd. Says, Commanders, #Commanders, I'm a fan of defense. What's your thoughts on our current defense? Any improvements? Yes, I am very, very happy with what we're seeing from the Commanders defense in Commanders camp. I think that the secondary is where the most improvement has been happening, because not only do you get Marshawn Lattimore back to 100%, but you add somebody that's had a really good camp to this point in Trey Amos, who looks like a legitimate starting corner already in his rookie season. He'll probably start week 1 on the outside. Mike Sainristil gets to move into a place where he can be more impactful on the football game. That'll be an instant upgrade as well from the slot. And then Quan Martin and Will Harris have been playing well as well on the back end at safety. So that secondary is instantly better than what it was last year, and one of the most improved units out of any team in the National Football League heading into the season, in my opinion. And then, the linebacker's pretty darn good as well. Frankie Louvu, there'll be a rotation here where sometimes Louvu will be playing the Will, and, Bobby Wagner pretty much always plays the Mike. And, we'll see with guys like Tyler Owens and et cetera. Dominique Hampton's actually off the team, so we got to take him off the graphic here, Ponzi, eventually. But then you get into the lower levels of the defense here, and they're going to be having a 5 down front, the 4-3 under that Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. love to run, and it's going to be a bunch of there's going to be a defensive end. There's going to be a Leo, which is another defensive end on the other side. Then you got 2 defensive tackles, and then you got your Sam linebacker walked up on the ball. So it's going to be an interesting defense this year, Malcolm. There's going to be a lot of rotating players, a lot of moving pieces. There's going to be a lot of blitzing. There's going to be a lot of stunts and games and loops and twists and the things that Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn love to do at the line of scrimmage. But then you also have the capable coverage players to be able to defend on the back end, play man coverage when you need to play man, and switch things up. So I really like the defensive personnel for the Commanders this year. And if everyone can stay healthy, I think this team has potential to be a top 10 defense this year. So predict it for me down there in the comment section. How many sacks does Von Miller have in 2025? Last year, he had 6. Dante Fowler Jr. had 10.5 as this team's designated pass rusher last year. How many do you think Von gets here in 2025? That'll be it for the mailbag here on the Commanders Report by Chat Sports for this week. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we provide you guys free, in-depth, and informative Commanders content every single day on this channel. So click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, guys, Hail to the Commanders.